You have to give your consent.
Yep. You've started recording.
Okay. Are we official?
Yeah, it's official.
Oh man. Oh man, everyone. Okay. This is Josh Curtis, and I have my esteemed co-host, Charles Riccardi here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Charles Riccardi. I'm Charles Riccardi. I live in Los Angeles. I've been doing design, digital product design, and graphic design for 12 years, and now I'm here.
Yeah, I'm about the same.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Josh Curtis again, and I love to take short walks into galaxies far, far away. Ooh. And I like to. I've also been doing design forever, probably, 20 years. I'm now showing how old I am already, and we've lost half our audience now. All the Zoomers are gone. They're like, "Oh, these guys are old. They don't know anything." So good 20 years in that realm, give or take 2 years, and then strictly UX 8 years ago, and then more UX UI. Like a blend, full stack design. I would say the recent 5 years for sure. It's and so let's maybe kind of talk a little bit about why we're doing this. Why does it matter? I think we already lost again the remaining half of our audience by just talking about ourselves. It's like you meet somebody and you're like, oh, let me just tell you all about me before I even tell you why it's important at all to even talk to each other or anything like that. So, as you can see, I'm pretty bad at networking, which is probably why I'm a lone dad these days. So,
another thing I guess we didn't mention too is currently I'm full-time at Microsoft, and Josh has led the freelance life, right, for a while. You own your own business as well.
I've done it all, man. I've done all flavors. I'm like the 31 flavors of design. I have worked for large corporations like CBS Broadcasting Company, AAA, and a very old and ancient wise company, I guess. So I got to work at their headquarters. That was fun. I worked for all kinds of size agencies, like large global conglomerate agencies that own other agencies, and also like small, tiny boutique agencies by the beach, and like people who would just go surf on their break. And of course, I don't have the skin for surfing. I'm too pale for anybody who has seen me in the flesh. Oh wait, we're recording video. Dang it. And I've also dabbled in obviously like a full-time career, like jobs. I've actually also managed, and that'll be fun to talk about later, because it's not for me, but so that'll be fun. But freelance is my jam lately. I think a lot of it just has to do with I know too much about the tax game. I know the secrets of the rich.
Oh, got that offline.
So that's also like a fun one, I think, to talk about in itself. Cool. Is should you go freelance versus employee? Charles, you obviously have a great perspective on knowing how to keep a job. I would definitely say that's already your proven skill set.
Because I have so much to do with that.
I won't be revealing too much about myself. I have struggled, not anymore, but there was many years where I struggled. So maybe another episode in itself.
A lot of honesty on this podcast for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are just talking about me so far, but we'll figure it out. So, let's talk about our origin story. I think that's pretty exciting.
Cool.
And I would love to talk about our time together where we actually met, you and I, many moons ago. It was a cold and stormy night. We were working at the Apple store forever ago.
In Simi Valley.
When did you start there, by the way?
2007.
Okay.
2007, right before the iPhone had launched.
Oh man, the golden era of technology.
Dude, what a day that was. That was insane. It was very cool.
It was definitely the start of the best and worst thing to ever be launched
for
society.
Isn't that wild? I know. All of our opinions on things like that. I mean, everything within the world can start off one way and then just get twisted and turned into many different things, and then you have to adjust as like society. So it's crazy. Same with Facebook too. we all used that to connect with each other. You had to have a college, you know, you had to go to a college or be a part of a college or whatever. And then they opened it up to everyone. And then it turned into algorithms and feeding people different things. And yeah,
Yep.
wild.
We could talk so much about smartphones and society and ethics and everything, especially being dads now. I think that's another interesting thing that we should just casually chat about.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's sort of our niche. We'll probably get into a lot more as we go. Oh, and we lost all the Zoomers again. Dang it. Except for those who, you know, might have had babies very, 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 very young. Maybe they're joining us on this quest at that point. But
yeah,
sad for them. But kids are the best and worst thing to ever happen to you. You might hear me say that a lot, but you know, it definitely changes you for sure. Totally. So I came on it in 2009. So you had already been there a couple years.
Right.
And I just loved working there. It was great. I mean, it was a job, no doubt.
Yeah.
But as far as like any retail employer you could work for, especially at that time, like Apple really treated people really well, and I just like absolutely loved the team as soon as I came in there. I remember telling people on social media, I got a job at Apple. And then graphic design friends from college, they're like, no way, you got in on the inside, you got a design job. I'm like, no, it's the retail store.
Yeah. Not corporate.
But it was I still thought it was an honor to just work for a company that cares so deeply about design. And, you know, they were really ahead of the game even then. As I guess we're assuming they still are, right? They're still making some headway in technology, of course. Very much to talk about with them. But we met, and I think we just hit it off because we're both very extrovert. You know, we really
super extrovert.
I just love the game. I like talking to people, like love selling, and it sounds like you were very similar. So tell me a little more about like what was your favorite part about working there?
I think it was just people. I think getting to interact with people all the time and feeling like I could actually help them, because the thing that we did was, you know, the thing that Apple focused on was truly meeting people's needs. It didn't feel like a Best Buy. It didn't feel like these other places where people would come in and it'd be like, just sell them as much as possible. It was like, sell them what it is that they need so that they can accomplish the goals. And, you know, especially this time, everyone uses a computer or some device to accomplish things. It helps, you know, superpower their lives in some manner. So it's been, it was really cool to help people along their journey of like finding, and especially I think older people to during that time, like having them come in and be like, I have no idea what any of this is, and I don't know what I need. And actually like opening the computer, showing them a couple of programs and being like, hey, come back in anytime, ask questions. I think Apple has just, and I feel like Steve Jobs too, he was always focused on user experience, meaning like the experience that someone has with the things that him and his company are making. And it wasn't just about like innovation or these things. The innovation always hoped to serve the customers, to serve the people that use the products. And so I think that always bled through into the retail stores too. And it was great. It was great. And we both hit it off very easily because we're extroverted and bubbly, and we both love people too. So
yeah. Oh man. And I love talking about our time there and the products and that company's mission and everything, just being so focused on user experience and customer experience as a whole. Because it's where we both, you know, we both kind of fell in love with design. And I think you got a really interesting background because you were self-taught.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't go to college for design. I didn't go to a design school or any of that stuff. Yeah, I just
you hear that, people? You hear that? If anybody's listening, hi, Mom. Mom, did you hear that?
Our one listener.
This guy is working at Microsoft, everybody, and did not go to school. And that's another thing. We should expand on that more. Maybe like your trials and tribulations. I think it's a great inspiration for anybody who may be listening to this in the future, like what your experience was like being self-taught. You're just one of those smart people who understood the information age allowed us, you know, with the internet, the prevalence of the internet just allowed you to just soak it up.
Yeah.
I swear what you do is an inspiration to what I do today. I just go and self-teach myself a lot of things, you know, like if I have a blocker on something in Figma, like it's just the craziest technical stuff they're introducing lately, like with variables and all this crazy nonsense, like, well, it's not nonsense, excuse me, it's amazing once you finally get past the hurdle. But I just go on YouTube and watch like 5 people who already learned it themselves and just teaching it, you know, and I think I'm a huge fan of just doing what you can to soak it up and learn yourself. I am actually personally questioning, like, if I really do want to send my kids to college, let alone pay for it at all.
Same.
My wife obviously is like very different about it. Like, she's a little more traditional in the sense, you know, it just sounds like the way to go culturally, like help pay your kids for college. But I just kind of want to say, you know, if you want to go to college, go pay for it yourself, or get all the free knowledge you possibly can, or dare I say, like, buy a couple private courses, you know, and really, you know, take it up a notch. And so just so everybody knows, I'm formally trained, well, in the sense of graphic design. So I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, short for, oh my gosh, California Polytechnic, Polytechnic State University of California. Oh my God, I butchered that so bad. Sorry to any fellow alumni out there. But go Mustangs. Just kidding. I've hardly ever connected with anybody after school, sadly. I guess kids did that. But yeah, I went through the whole, like, I went through community college. I took a while to graduate, but I got a degree finally. I think it was 25. I got a bachelor's in graphic design and did that for a long time. And eventually, you know, so like I said, like about 20 years in design field in general. And then about 8 years ago, as soon as I even heard of something like user experience design, I got into that. But I want to talk a little more about, maybe even deeper, like what inspired you to get into design at all, right? Like, so you're self-taught, but like, what is it where it clicked for you and you had a good idea that would be the field for you?
Yeah, so I liked, from a really early age, I really was intrigued by drawing. I wasn't very good at it, but when I was watching things like Pokemon or, you know, any of these, a number of shows that I watched, I was always intrigued by mostly visual design, right? Like just the design of a set or the design of characters, even like, oh my gosh, they made this character and it has these things coming off the top and those kind of represent water. I was just interested by how things were created. And so I think that that's kind of where the spark started. And then, you know, again, speaking about Apple when we were there, I think that's when I started to understand too, that like graphic design wasn't really the only way to express design. Like that wasn't the only form of design. And it was evident in how the retail stores were actually structured and how they structured our programs and things. They're beautiful, but they were products. Like Steve Jobs knew that the retail store was a product to be tweaked in order to like serve a really great purpose, not just to sell something. And so I think that that's where I started to understand and see like, oh my gosh, architecture, how people like flow through an area, how people are welcome, where the people are stationed at, and how those people serve a purpose, as well as the physical space, and how those two things are very, very connected. That's when I was like, oh, I love this. This is, and this design bleeds into like everything. It seems like it's not just a poster that I might have been working on, or you know, an icon or something like that. Like, I think it was very kind of two-dimensional in my life at first, but then that's when I was like, oh wow, design affects literally everything around us. Street signs, the reason that sidewalks like actually go down is so that people with wheelchairs can like go up. There's like everything around us is designed literally. Quite literally.
Absolutely, man. That's so well said. Because like, only once you're kind of in an environment like that where you just can tell that every little detail was thought out. I actually got to go to Apple's headquarters in college. We were so fortunate because we're in I'm in Southern California now, but I went. So Cal Poly's in Central California, and then we did a field trip to go to the headquarters. One of my favorite things was being there at the headquarters, and they're talking about their design philosophy, and they would say, "God is in the details." And you know, they weren't trying to be so literal, like in you know, like religious sense, but they were just trying to make a point that divinity is found in the details, really. Like, and that registered so much with me. Like, I feel like that was such an important part of my career to hear that, or I guess my education at the time, to hear that, because it really made me think like, every detail matters. It really does.
Yeah.
And boy, do they show it. Like they
Yep.
show that in the tables, the actual products they're selling, everything you're talking about, like the interior design, the exterior, like facade of their stores.
Yeah.
Also, like just thoughtful placement of like that one in, what is it, Union Station? Like there's the one in New York, right? Like, I mean, like just so freaking unique. And so that's what also fascinates me. And you said a really great point about even the thought of the flow of the store, right? Now, I'm sure a lot of retail companies take deep thought into that, but they probably doubled down on that because they knew how to move product, high selling product, of course, like lots of revenue, but they sure knew how to make it flow nicely. And so that's another reminder that design is not always digital. It's not always what we see in front of us, right? And a lot of it is, especially in UX, is what we do, how we impact people. It's like the feel. It's like they just know they accomplished something and they feel good, but they don't really know exactly why. And
so
the
good.
designers are the ones who are like all giddy in the corner, like, oh yes, I know why, because
Yeah.
it was very thought out and validated. But so at least we get that good feeling, like we know why they're happy. And again, like you just see it in the numbers, you see it in the KPIs, but especially so you see it in the smiles.
Yeah.
And boy, yeah, they although you'll probably pay top dollar when you go to the Apple store,
Yeah.
it's such a great experience though. And I can just see it. It just made sense why people would prefer to go there, especially when they're like Apple fanatics like you and I. I mean, I wanted to work there so badly because I just love their products so much. I've been using it for years before. So yeah, like again, the reason we're doing this podcast is, well, Charles and I just connected recently on LinkedIn. It's so funny because we haven't really talked in years, right? And we're like, let's okay, so let's go back to how I got your attention. I was doing this thing. I'm kind of on a pause. I should probably get back into it today. Don't even talk to me about my New Year's resolution. That's not even it. But I was doing this thing called 100 Days of Design. And at first I was like, well, I need to not overwhelm myself. I need to not like design something every day. Although I was inspired by somebody else who was actually designing like 1 or 2 screens a day. Wow. They weren't the greatest at it, but what really hit me was how consistent that person was. And they caught my eye because of the rule of 7, this marketing principle, where as soon as you've seen something 7 times, you start to feel safe with it. It's like going back into like, I don't know, like it's something primal in us, like in the wild. Like if we see something and it doesn't kill us, somehow we start to feel like that's okay, that's safe. I like that, or you start to kind of warm up to it. I saw this person posting stuff so much that I started to remember them and certainly become inspired. And I thought, okay, let me try something like that. This is also just because I was trying to get into my career just more heavier into freelance just a month or 2 ago. And I thought, oh, I got to market myself. I got to get some really good clients. And so I thought, well, let me try something similar to that. But I just started with just like critiquing designs, but there was, and I think you just saw that and you're like, oh dude, what are you doing? You're going to like do all this design. Like you contacted me and I was just so excited to hear from you because I always enjoyed working with you, man.
Yeah.
And what I find most exciting about, and the kind of the reason we're doing this podcast is Charles and I have a lot of catching up to do. I as soon as we were catching up I just kind of came to me. I'm like, I think we should just try to do this sort of catching up on our journeys and just record it. See if anybody else likes it and is inspired by it too. Yeah. Because that's a lot of the essence of design in general, is what you create is a lot due to inspiration, whether it's visual or just hearing other people and their experiences and careers. And so, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. I think that for starters, like we'll just maybe talk a little more about kind of what's coming. I don't think that's a bad thing. We are definitely going to talk about like what trends are happening. I'm sure and we'll probably end up doing this more visual as we go. For now, I think we're just going to maybe talk about things and perhaps we'll maybe start to do like maybe even like screen shares or something, but we'll see. We'll see what the audience wants. If anybody's listening right now, mom, hi mom.
Thanks for listening this far, by the way.
Yeah, if you could give us some ideas, that would be fine. Like we love any kind of fuel to go off of. Otherwise, we're just going to keep riffing. But we'll talk about things like latest software and tools. Get deep into like UX UI principles. I think it definitely deserves a discussion on what is the difference really between UX and UI and how a lot of companies get that wrong. They just kind of want somebody who they think can do UX, but really a lot of the times the needs of or the expectations of a lot of companies is more just primarily a UI designer. Like we just need somebody to jump into Figma. Yeah. Well, okay, but what about the UX part? Like that is so important, which I'm most excited about because I love UX. I am a definitely more like 80% UX focused person because I'm crazy entrepreneurial, like crazy entrepreneurial. And I'm excited to bring that experience of like running a business with my wife, like so much to talk about. Especially if you need to call out sick one day. I could just riff on my experience in business and how it's impacted me and like understanding marketing and how it's also affected my design process and everything.
Yeah.
But and we're going to talk about AI. We have to talk about that. AI is obviously crazy buzzword. Maybe even our own like predictions, and perhaps we'll bring on guests. I don't know. Just depends.
Yeah.
People come knocking on our door, or people ask for that for sure. We'll definitely do so. I like the co-host format personally, which is why I asked Charles like, hey, let's do this together. Like, let's be body doubles. And let's see if we can just get each other to show up because I think we both have that. We've had that desire to do something like this personally, and something about it is just more powerful when you're like kind of like a co-founder format. Like all the great big companies, especially in tech, a lot of them have, vast majority, I believe, maybe is welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but the vast majority has been co-founders. Like Google had co-founders, YouTube had co-founders, Google bought YouTube, and then just so many, Microsoft, Apple. I mean, we can go on for a while, right? But so I think that's also a nice thing to maybe even think about is the co-founder dynamic and how that's also affected other companies. Oh, and another great one that we have here in our slated for episodes is design leadership for you? I definitely don't think it's for me.
No, me neither.
So, well, we got two people who think that it's not for us, and that's okay, right? And we're going to talk about why that's okay. But I'm going to do my best because to at least chat from the leadership side because I have been there, and I will definitely say why I don't like it after being on that side. But we want to definitely make it like a more objective case for both sides and just take our biases with a grain of salt.
Well, and I think too, like super quickly on that, I think there's a lot that's changed in our industry as well. Like when we first started design way back when, leadership and being in a leadership position was like the end of your path. Whereas I think now a lot of companies have realized leadership is a great thing that we need, but also not everyone is made out, nor do they want to be leaders. So there's now alternate paths where you can be like a super strong, super powered IC individual contributor and lead projects and even lead people at times, but you're not managing people's career paths, their salaries, you're not managing that part of things. And so I think that that's a really important part that we'll talk about too, where our industry has changed a bunch in that.
It's definitely a people game. And what's so funny about that, like it's the irony behind my passion personally for UX because it's a people game.
Yeah.
And like it's so funny because I love like I feel like I'm crazy empathetic for end users. Pretty much nobody else, but all right, maybe my wife and kids, but all right, maybe like 3 other people. My mom has to be one of those. Hi, mom.
So good.
So it's like 3 times I've acknowledged her on there. She's probably not even listening or watching, so it's probably crickets. Hi, crickets. Chirp, chirp, chirp. So gosh, now I'm like forgetting where we're going, but so leadership is fun. I mean, a fun topic to talk
Yeah.
about. And so we'll definitely dive deep, at least one episode, if not several episodes about that, or I'll just pepper it in every episode.
Mhm.
But another one we are thinking about is like, do designers still need developers? A very audacious title, but
Mhm.
a lot of this, it'll probably get deep into AI, at least the current state, where we think it's going, how personally, where I think like Figma as a software in general is going. They have yet to really, in my understanding, incorporate like real deep AI tools yet.
Yeah,
Please
yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, like sleeping
yeah.
under a
No,
rock or something. But
yeah.
like and I get this one was just kind of again like more kind of just an audit evaluation of the design workflow, more like product team workflow,
Mhm. Mhm.
and where I kind of see some trends happening personally, like Webflow, like a lot of job posts right now. I've been looking for work over the past couple months, and I see a lot of job posts of people who have Figma knowledge and Webflow knowledge.
Mhm.
Like a lot of them
Yeah.
wanting Webflow people, like, so that's very interesting.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if Figma in general will be considering an acquisition, really, because it's so obvious that there's a lot of overlap between the tools. For
Mhm.
example, the auto layout of Figma, is a pretty amazing feature about it, which is based on CSS Flexbox,
Mhm.
and how transitioning that from Figma to Webflow, where it's just following similar structure and a lot of similar controls.
Well,
Although
it
I'll
seems
tell
like
you,
it's a hop and a skip away, like
yeah,
from
I'm like, if
making
they
that
don't,
connection.
yeah, they don't, they're like fools to not at least work more closely together. Now they do have plugins
Yeah.
that allow the transition over to be better, but I'm trying Webflow lately and it's very tough. I have tried so long in my life to avoid code.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
and but you have to really think like a coder,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that I know I'm going deep into that already.
No. 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 It's
But
good.
I think that's a fun one to talk about. So I
Yeah,
think we got
especially
always like,
the dynamic of that in Framer too, because
yes,
Framer is now solely a like web design tool. Like it's no longer like a design
is that
prototyping
right?
tool. Yeah, so they
Oh, I
their
didn't
their
know that.
their whole business model basically has changed. I actually got to go and hang out with those guys in Amsterdam more recently. We talk about
Oh my
that and
gosh,
how cool that
Amsterdam.
was. Yeah, yeah,
Whoa, man,
yeah.
we got lots to
Random,
catch up on.
random.
Dang,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. But yeah,
That's
that whole
so cool.
dynamic that is definitely a fight happening on Twitter right now too, where people are saying like, "Oh, Webflow is amazing." I think the like very high level of it right now is like Framer is almost like way closer to Figma, where you can truly just like throw stuff onto a page, hit publish, and it works, and it
Yeah.
has like mobile web, regular web, like tablet, like all that stuff done. And
Oh man.
Webflow is really powerful. So it has like a lot of different tools and plugins and implementations, whatever it may
Yeah.
be. So you can set up like a total SaaS business on Webflow, like, not easily, but you can because it has the capabilities. Whereas Framer's
Yeah.
like stand something up in, 10 minutes essentially and get
Let's
published.
talk more about that, because I let's make sure we have notes in that for that episode,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was like really keeping a good eye on Framer for years, and I haven't really looked into them for the past 3 years, like
Yeah.
2 to 3 years solid, right? And I had no idea that they really pivoted. I just thought like they're just out of the game, because every single job listing, every company, like
Yeah.
it seems like the vast majority, like a solid 80%,
Yes.
are like using Figma. Like everything is just like Figma. If you don't know Figma, don't apply. Like one of those
Yeah. Yeah.
things. So,
Yeah.
and so but I always love the vision behind Framer and want to
Yeah.
talk a lot more about that. And I need to get caught up myself too to be prepared to talk about that,
Yeah,
because
totally.
it's not just, it's like the independent party, there's like that third political party that's still
Mhm.
trying to get
Trying
some
to do
share,
something.
right?
Yeah, it's a cool. They're in a cool intersection because it's mainly about. Sorry, when I say web design tool, it's like literally building websites. Like same with Webflow. Like they're a literal competitor to Webflow, but
Wow.
their
Okay.
whole thing is that it's like incredibly easy to use. Everything's drag and drop. Like there might
Oh
be
my
like a
gosh.
few developer principles you need to know. Yeah, you should definitely check it out, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. And something else I wanted to mention too, that
Yeah.
throughout all this, like threading through all of these concepts and stuff, I'm a big feelings guy. So like
Yeah.
I will thread in and talk about, how the pandemic has like affected me as a designer, how it's affected a lot of different designers, people having existential crisis. Like, do we do design anymore? Do we change? Like everyone's working with their hands now. Like people want to see people more. And so I think there's a lot of those things to talk about too, that have also kind of changed, how people do design their own workflows, how they work within specific tools. Like, are they on video calls all day? Like, how is that working out for designers? Like, my company personally has no budget to travel whatsoever, so I don't get to see people anymore. Like, that's changed my whole dynamic within the company I work for full time. And so, yeah.
It's so funny. I gotta say real quick, like Microsoft greatly scrutinized in the beginning of the pandemic, the productivity of remote workforces, and here they are. They're like a big forerunner of remote workplace, right? Like, and like even so, like it's just not have people travel. Do you guys at least get to like get together like once in a great while? I mean, you just said it, I guess, but like not even like an annual, biannual, like nothing, like a hoorah get together in Vegas. I don't know, something like
I know. So the Amsterdam trip was that for us.
Oh, yes,
which was cool, which was really great. But that was, oh man, I don't even know. It was a little while ago. But yeah, I don't know. Recently, been trying to figure some of that stuff out. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, but we do not have like a scheduled like in March or whatever. We're all going to get together. It's kind of just like someone has to speak up a little bit about it. But
I'm definitely I'm going to capture some notes here. We're going to just do like an episode on almost your entire experience in Amsterdam. Because that's cool. And I think it doesn't always need to be about design, but you could probably comment on cool stuff that you saw there.
Oh my god, yeah.
We got to talk about Framer. And I'm just jotting some notes for future stuff for sure.
Sweet.
And we went in that tangent. Oh yeah, we were talking about Microsoft, and I think we should talk. I would love to hear more. So you said something about like your personal journey through the pandemic, right? I think I'd love to talk about mine too. Oh man, do I have a lot to talk about.
Oh my gosh, all of us have stories to tell. And these are the things I think that aren't, I don't know, or maybe I'm not listening to them, to be fair, but I haven't heard a lot of podcasts where people just kind of talk about those experiences and how it's altered and changed their ways of thinking about their work and stuff like that. Like, I feel like people talk about workflow, or they'll talk about how they're working, but maybe they're not kind of tightly connecting like where they're at in their own mental state and how that's changed, and where they might want to go. What does 2024 hold too for us? Like, I've been thinking about a lot of stuff.
That's really great.
Yeah, freelance and corporate life, those are two very different things. Can you do both at the same time? That's what I do.
Moonlighting, yes. Oh, we should talk about moonlighting. Oh my gosh. And I have a lot of stuff to share from my wife's business. Like, again, I was very involved with it. Okay, so I'll just kind of quickly touch base on that. So my wife's business is a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business, primarily in kids subscription boxes. So it's like a wildlife education subscription box. So I'm not here to promote her. Okay.
So cool.
What's the URL? What
was that saying again?
What I said, but what's the URL? What's the URL?
Yeah.
I'm not here to promote it.
www.edsucation.com. Okay. Go buy mom. Oh wait, she already gets a family discount. She's already.
Oh gosh, Josh, did you do the website and stuff for that?
I did. Yeah, I did most of that. However, this is again really Thank you. I appreciate that. I can't take all the credit because I had a dabble in design leadership, and there was we have the graphic designer still there. So just to be candid, I have since left the company. That's why I'm doubling down more back in my design career. Is I had a lot of fun doing all things in a business. I am still very entrepreneurial, but it's a small company. So again, in itself, let's talk about my experience in my wife's company. So it's like, let's talk about how to not destroy your spouse in business, or not be destroyed.
Working together. Yeah.
And so that business was very interesting. So I really appreciate the comments, because I have a lot of like, not imposter syndrome, self-criticism, right? Like I think as any artist or designer, we naturally Song of imposter syndrome. I know a lot of podcasts talk about imposter syndrome, but I don't know. Maybe we can give a good flair to it. So,
Yeah.
But syndrome, syndrome. So we have yeah. So that design, like, I've done some, and I certainly have like done the logo and like the color, basic the primitives, as some UX or UI designers like to call it, like visual designers. I've been picking up on this new term called the primitives of branding, which are your basic core styles, like your colors, your fonts, things like that. So I was instrumental in the beginning of that. But she did have we hired a designer, and she's amazing. Oh my gosh, so great. She can do print and digital, and so she did a lot of these landing page updates, as you see, like the current homepage. That was her. I don't take much credit for that. I just micromanaged a little bit of the design process. Again,
You art direct. You art direct.
I did. Yeah, I did like art direction. I like it. Do I feel like I'm the best at it? I don't know. Again, very self-critical as a designer in general. I think we all probably understand that we can always be better. So I kind of,
as people and as artists.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that was an interesting time, and I think that again is something really deep to expand on. It's years that we were doing that together. The business is still going, obviously. But like just talking about working with your wife in general, or spouse, excuse me, like or your wife working with a husband or
partner,
or spouse. So it is not for everyone.
Yeah, totally. There's
right?
a lot of things. So Mel and I have worked together too, and they're definitely it would be cool to talk about challenges, things that were really fun, also things that like either alleviate that stress or heighten it, like because depending on the clients that you're working with too, like some clients that we worked with together like took care of so many things for us, like booking us a hotel or whatever, like that's amazing, and you're like, whoa, we don't have to stress about any of this, that's cool. And then like it's just the creative work that we have to think about, so there's a lot of that stuff too, whereas I imagine a lot of the stuff that you guys were doing is like you're building something from like the bottom, like there's nothing there, and you have to
manifested
dig the dirt and then like put the foundation, and
it's and even just like giving her the opportunity, I had to be full-time in my career at that time, so that was quite an experience too, to just like it started on Amazon. Okay, I feel like I'm already expanding too much on it, but like it all started on Amazon a long time ago, and eventually spun off to a brand, because we saw a lot of good things moving, selling products that we really liked on Amazon. And this is when it was cool to sell on Amazon. It's very saturated now. Too many tools for people to investigate you, too many Chrome extensions out there to get a rough idea like what your revenue is per product. Like it's crazy. And then also Amazon has all the data they could ever need to compete against you. I don't know if anybody knows, Amazon has like so many of their own private labels that people don't even know they own. It's not just Amazon Basics. They have like 30, 50. I couldn't even count. They have so many like home brands, electronic brands, like all kinds of stuff that's not just Amazon's name. And they have all the data they'd ever need to compete against you. So that's another fun one to talk about. But I got a lot of experience in the e-commerce industry in general. I also work currently with a direct-to-consumer manufacturer in the jewelry category. I don't want to give too much information. I guess I just want to like kind of keep a lot of client confidentiality on that. But that's also very fun. So I'll think about that, how much I want to talk about that, because that's I don't want to go too deep, but it's just nice to talk about direct to consumer in general. Because there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, man. E-commerce business is probably the hardest thing. Probably the hardest business ever. Like it is not easy at all. You got to do sourcing, accounting, very complicated accrual accounting versus cash-based accounting. I've already lost. Look, the last remaining bit of our audience just dropped half of them. I just said the word accounting. They're like, we're not accountants.
I was going to say also, no, but I mean, money, right, is something that's real for freelancers even too. Like people just go, oh, I get money, and then people forget there's taxes that they have to pay, and then depending on what state, that just totally changes. Like all these things are, I think, really important, valuable information. Also information I didn't get as a kid at all. So it was something that like I wasn't taught. Yeah. Sorry, mom, dad. There were a lot of things I wasn't taught when I was younger.
We have 3 people listening now. We have my mom, your mom, and dad. 3. Oh man, we're climbing. we made it.
Oh my gosh. We are on our way. Yeah, so I think that stuff will be valuable. Also, too, the things that you guys provide, isn't it a physical product, right?
Yeah, it's physical. So
there's
you got a source.
Yeah,
it's got
source, manufacturing, design and print. Like there's so many. That changes that to like 3 to 4x more challenging when you actually have a physical, because there's a ton of the other side of this, which we'll also talk about too, is like all the designers taking the opportunity to use like the internet and AI to create these digital businesses that like, I don't know, whatever. A lot of people are saying they're a productized service where they're basically doing, a subscription model for design. Can
you say again? Productized?
Productized service.
Nice. This is new to me. That sounds exciting.
I only have heard the term more recently. But yeah, productized services, which is basically like creating a subscription model for something. So like I create a subscription model for icon design. So I'll be like, hey, you pay me, whatever, thousands of dollars a month. And this is what you get per month for subscribing to my service. And so another guy charges $5,000 a month, and it's for basically web design, presentation design, all these things. Unlimited revisions, unlimited things, but he works on one design at one time. I can't wait to talk about all this stuff because
that's cool.
So
design as a service. That would be. Let's talk about that one too, and perhaps that's like more of a segue.
Yeah,
the broader product design services.
Yeah, it could also be talked about within like what kind of roles and things exist within our industry right now, and that's like if we go hard on freelance within an episode, I think that could be pretty cool.
Design as a service. That would be just like a cool title.
Yeah.
Excellent. It's like we should just do every episode where we come up with more episodes, like kind of like a Ponzi scheme of podcasts. We just rip on cool things to talk about in the future.
Yeah.
Did we actually get to those? I don't know. Stay tuned. Maybe one of my siblings will listen next time. Not just mom.
It's so good. And the fun things about doing this too is like, have you ever listened to Smartless? Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes.
Oh, I've heard of it. I've been wanting to listen to it. I must do some homework. If we're gonna even be semi-successful podcasters, we got to start really listening to. Oh my gosh, the Tosh one that you sent me though was so.
Oh my gosh, Tosh Show, Tosh Show. Even the name, just Tosh Show. So good because there's already so much brand equity in his name. And so you just Tosh and then show because it's a podcast is really well done. For anyone listening or watching,
we're probably going to refer. Sorry. We're probably going to refer people to other podcasts that are much better, and we'll just lose people more. Oh man, now
it's so good. Fun. It's really well formatted. He has a bunch of really great questions that he asks people. The people he brings on too, they're only interesting because they're people in his life and also how he interacts with them and his delivery of questions and whatever. He's a comedian. So it's so good. So good. Has a little studio set up, has someone who's on like a mic who's also managing like pulling up videos and links or whatever. So obviously he has money so he can do all these things and no problem. But
now,
good.
Where are you based out of again?
I'm in Los Angeles in Culver City. So
oh my gosh.
Close to Marina.
How funny, right? Because I'm in Thousand Oaks. And so we should get together sometime and maybe do like, I don't know, something like maybe by the beach or something cool, like where we're just chatting together. That's so awesome. I forgot that you said you're in this area. So this is so funny. It's like a taste of everybody hearing like how still very little we know about each other. We're like, still even trying to remember some of our recent conversations. Maybe it's just my problem. I don't know. But I forgot you're like close in this area too, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. We'll call it the catch-up.
SoCal.
Yeah. It's SoCal. We'll call it the catch-up. Maybe that's what it is. And it's just us. It's just us recording ourselves catching up after so long. So fun.
Man, this is great. I'm like really excited because like we just came up with 7 or 8 more episode ideas to
Yeah.
talk about.
gonna be
So
fun.
that's going to be really, really cool, man. So I think every episode we should just like take a few notes on
Yeah.
what else we can chat about in the future. We're going to be in
totally.
competition with any listeners out there who you know, of course, my mom's going to want me to talk about, you know, knitting. She doesn't do knitting. I just wonder what they're going to ask about. But yeah, this exciting stuff, man. I really am super grateful for showing up, man. Like both of
Yeah.
us, really. Like
Yeah, me too, man.
I really enjoyed even this first chat. I
Yeah.
must say.
Yeah, me too.
So,
I think it's gonna be fun.
what's really funny is we don't even have a name yet.
Nope.
So
We'll figure it out, I guess.
yeah, right now it's Operation Bumblebee Tuna.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I was thinking something like maybe we could kind of end it with coming up with a few name ideas. And anybody in the audience is welcome to help. Let's do a design by committee for the name of this podcast.
And to Josh's credit too, I think one of the big things that he's inspired me to do is just to get things started and to not overthink and try and over productize the thing that we wanted to do. And so even like us starting this thing and recording it and not having a name is just great. Like if you want, and this is good inspiration for anybody, if you want to do something, just go and do it. Don't worry about people's opinions of it, whatever, just do it.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. Life is short. Have amazing experiences with your friends, get things started. As long as you're starting, every day is something new and you're working a little bit on that thing. Like, don't worry about it. It's you're either stalled or something's happening. So
I'm really at this point where I'm like, I'll just be excited if the recording actually recorded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My greatest fear is like trying something new and then like it didn't actually record. I'm like, oh great. But at least we had a good practice if that wasn't the case. Okay, so then real quick, and we'll come up with a quick name and then we'll end it. I'm excited. We came up with a lot of stuff to chat about even on this first episode. So I was thinking design bros, not brus. Just to be super clear that we're older. Because bro is the language of my generation, or dude. So I oh my gosh, that's like I could talk forever about how insane it is that my daughter calls me bruh.
Oh my gosh, your daughter calls you bruh too, dude. This must be just a thing.
This is the verbiage of this generation. Like this is the slang pronoun, I guess. I don't know what we're gonna call it.
She comes up and goes, "Yeah, what are you doing, bruh?" And I'm like, "What's happening? How did this like circulate?"
Is she like 7? Like how old is she?
She's 7, yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son is 9 and he is saying it. And I'm like, aren't you too young for that word? Like,
yeah.
Every kid. I think my brother is a 5-6-year-old. I want to say 6-year-old son is calling him that too, and we need to put an end to it right now. No. Yes, we'll just so age. So that's what'll happen. Okay, so that's just thoughts. Anybody's welcome to help us with this. We could just call it Bumblebee Tuna.
Yeah, I know. I like the subline of like catching up after like 10 or 15 years of
Yeah, wow. Yeah, we haven't really. You and I just haven't really chatted for like what 10 years? No. Well, I moved to Florida from. That'll be fun to talk about too. I didn't even think about that. I moved to Florida and back. And
you were in Florida? I don't even think I
remember.
Knew that.
Yeah, I was at Apple Store and I moved to Florida because I got a promotion, or I didn't get a promotion I thought I really deserved. However, looking back and the importance of inclusivity, I understand why the company decided on the candidate. So it was a rough time at the time. I was in my 20s. I had a lot of ego, and I was like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna move to Florida now, everybody. And like that was ridiculous. That was crazy. I'm glad I did it. My kids are actually born in Florida, and
cool.
I wouldn't want to change a thing, but I came back, and that was wild. Don't move across the country, everybody. Don't do it.
Oh man,
just don't. Don't move. And then I came back and moved across with 2 kids and 4 animals. I gotta remember again, but actually moved across the country with 12 animals. That'd be fun to expand on. So, but we need a name, and we'll just go with no name. We're still Operation Bumblebee Tuna until otherwise. I guess when we publish this, we'll have to decide on something. Maybe hopefully we can change it later.
Yeah. Untitled.
We'll think of something. I just want to make sure it's publishable.
Yeah.
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 All right, well, good, man. This is pretty long for a first episode. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Not
I'm
bad.
actually excited that we went this long because like it's sometimes I feel like it can be hard for people to talk for even 20 to 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
this has been great. All right, any last words before we wrap up?
No.
You want to say mom and dad?
We'll have to see if there's got to be like, we'll think of it throughout making the episodes, but like a sign off. That's what, the reason I was bringing up Smartless in the first place is they always try and bring in a bye, but they try and build it into a sentence. So I don't know if we'll do that, but I just love that concept. So they'll be like, yeah, sometimes, people will, whatever. I can't even think of one right now. Like,
and I really want to do fake
standard. Like they'll do that. It's so funny.
Okay, wait, let's make a note. What do you call that? Closing statement, or what do you want?
Yeah, closing tag, I don't know. It's called something, right?
I want to do fake commercials until we actually get sponsors. I feel like we should do pre-recorded fake products and services.
Podcast is brought to you by.
Yeah, dude, you got the voice for commercials. Like
Matcha
brought to you
tonics.
by my own green juice mix.
Yeah, dude. That's also a fun part of an episode too. Is like what we use to kind of fuel ourselves, and that type of thing too. That's a small thing, but
I always made jokes to my friends like I wanted to do a podcast about my just wanting to grill steak, and it was called the Sweaty Beef Podcast.
Sweaty Beef Podcast. Oh my god!
To be a steak fanatic to understand, and that's a hobby I took up during the pandemic because there was.
That's a good one, dude. Everyone did bread, and you did meat. I
did steak. I'm really good at it now.
That's awesome.
That would take 3 episodes to talk.
Oh my gosh! What's your favorite cut to make?
Oh man, I think it would be blasphemy to not say a prime ribeye.
Oh my gosh, delicious. Oh
yeah, just a good ribeye 2-inch cut. It's got to be top notch. But I actually like the challenge of making really cheap steaks taste very good. So that's also something I've been kind of dabbling with, like flank steak or just like cheap ribeye. Yeah, and then New York cuts, great second choice. So
yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's wrap this up, and we will say bye, mom, and dad. And we'll
see you later
in future episodes.
Whoops!
Oh, wow, that was interesting.
Yeah, I forgot you can do that stuff on Macs and
let's do that again. Oh my gosh, how funny!
Like you can do this stuff too, and they'll do a rain. Or I think this one, fireworks, right? No, confetti.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's built into Mac OS.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. All right, well, cool. So I'll see you on the next one. We'll just at this point, we just got to decide what's the next one. So we want to do this like every week, right? I think we're gonna try.
Yeah, I think every week sounds great. Have a conversation.
All right, cool. All right, man. Thanks, Charles. Appreciate it, and happy New Year to you, sir.
You too. Thanks, Josh.
All right, see you around.
See ya.